Where are we picking?
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. We are resuming the Monday, August 12th council meeting on Tuesday, August 13th. And I'd like to call the meeting to order at 3:07 p.m. And at this time, if you'd like to deliver the land acknowledgement.
Accepted.
Councillor Coates is going to deliver the land acknowledgement. And my hope is, just as a friendly reminder, that all electronic devices are on vibrate or silence, and that we will be positioning the meeting with the motion on the table, the discussion followed by the vote. Okay, go ahead.
The town of Smoky Lake respectfully acknowledges that we are situated on Treaty 6 territory, the traditional lands of First Nations and Métis people.
Thank you. So resuming at 13.1, regional fire. Go ahead, Dawn.
The council meeting yesterday, Deputy Mayor Kosky-Zariski, you had requested an RFD to summarize the information that was requested from Francha. And I do apologize, again, I should have had this information previously. I should have read through what was going to be needed at the next meeting a little more thoroughly, maybe. So I think the biggest conversation is around the rent. So I tried to summarize the information, and thank you, Crystal, while I was in the meeting this morning for compiling some information. He summarized some of the information at the bottom here. So I labeled it number 1 in bold. One that's written is 7.1 is 13.1. Sorry. So right now our rent for the fire hall is 10,800, and that's not really rent, it's more utilities is how the agreement's written out. And the cold storage building is $10,860 a month, which is $900 or a year, which is $905 a month. Both buildings are about 2,400 square feet. They're very similar in size. If we gave the full, this question came up yesterday, what if right now we rent 2.5 bays to the county, what if we rented the whole thing to fire? And I have confirmed that we can store our equipment elsewhere. We have room for it. So if we said based on this, which is based on $5.43 a square foot, the rent would be $13,032 a year if we kept with that same price line.
Including utilities?
Including utilities, based on what we're doing right now. So then the next chart has the actual costs. So you see the public works shop, the fire hall on the left, and then the storage building on the right. Now, phone we don't use for the town at all. It's purely the fire hall. Insurance includes the values. So we actually figured this would be more like what the cold storage would be if it was just the building. So $520 a month.
A month.
A year, sorry.
Oh.
What time is it? Wake up. These are actuals for water and gas, keeping in mind there's actually no water at the storage building, so it's just gas. And then an estimate of the cost of the billing for power based on the other uses. And then on to the next page has the alarm system. So half the alarm system for the fire hall and then the full amount for fire storage. So the $24,725.50 is our costs, not rent, just cost, actual costs out of the town's pocket for the fire hall. And actually it'll be a little less than that because again, insurance will change. And then $6,318.50 for the storage building. So total expenses are around $31,000, and then it has utilities. And then I was trying to kind of make sense of it all for everyone. So I gave a couple options, but again, just throwing out numbers. So the first one was that the fire storage rent, we just entered an agreement last year at $5.43. So if we just say we're going to give you the whole building, the rent is now $13,032. So our expenses are $6,300. So with maintenance and whatnot, it kind of works out. Whereas,
Go ahead.
I just before you continue, I just had a quick question about how, this might be for you guys, how the financials are working with the ICC. Is it everybody's putting in and then the county's paying the bills. So we pay a certain amount that goes towards all of this. Then, okay, I just need to know how the payment to think of how to.
Everything's gonna be paid for by them. And then they're going to, but they're
Split it
gonna
up
pay us
according
rent,
to-
right?
But no, I mean, not with our buildings, but I
Okay.
mean with fire service.
Yeah.
They're gonna say, you owe this, and you owe
Yeah.
this. So our contribution for that building will be in what we pay them.
In what we charge them.
No. So what they charge, what the county charges back to us every year for fire service. That will cover our use, our portion of the fire building.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so when you're,
When we
Thinking
increase
about-
rent, we're increasing the amount we have to pay to them in their budget. Is that what you're
right,
getting at?
that's what I'm
Then they
getting
give us
at,
back.
and the other thing though, what I'm thinking at is that this is half of the cost to run that, what it costs us to run that building. Wouldn't you have all 100% of the costs going to fire service? What if they're using 100% of the building?
No, this is all of the costs. The cost for the fire storage is 6,000?
That's 100% of it.
Yes.
And
Okay,
they're gonna use
And
that.
then, and right now the rent
yes,
is
that's what I'm,
13,000.
that's what I'm, okay,
So we'll just cover our entire cost, plus if we need to do maintenance and whatnot on that.
great,
building.
okay, and then it'll be go
Yeah.
to them and charge back up. Okay, that's all, I just need to wrap my head around how the
Okay.
financial works with the whole big picture. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, go ahead, go ahead.
Just one thing, I don't know if you take into account is the depreciation, building won't last forever.
Well, that's where, yeah, no, for sure, and that's
That
where,
has to be included.
yeah, so then you take the. So you've got your maintenance, your regular maintenance and one on the building, and then, yes, we should be putting aside money to replace that building in 30 years, right? Or whatever life cycle would be on that building, it might be longer as a storage, but. And then the other side, so my thought on this one, and I just threw this number out there, so $5.43 was what was recommended by the assessor when we brought forward the fire storage building, as a storage building. The other building is more use, right? It's a fire hall, there's training, there's meetings, it's it's way more use, there is water in that building, they're pulling hose, they're cleaning equipment. So I estimated it being about $7, if we did it around $7 a square foot because of that. Then that rent would be 16,800, and that would include the cost of utilities. And then the additional costs, so if we wanted to consider that we're also paying the alarm, the insurance on just the building, because they're already paying insurance on the contents on that side. And then the phone, if they want to continue it, then the total rent and expenses for those buildings would be $32,563 a year. That was one way to go about it.
Go ahead,
Oh, no, he actually beat me.
go ahead.
So when we say we're paying the utilities, do they keep track of the water they use for the fire trucks and that gets billed?
We base the water on, no, this is actual water,
You keep
right?
track of it, the fire department does, whether or not, I don't know.
Yeah, it's metered at the actual for what year? 2023 was $9,289 for water and gas
Into that building,
in the fire hall.
so that
Yes.
didn't, that included what went into the fire trucks?
Whatever water was used in that building, so
That building has a separate meter.
it's separate, yeah,
That building has a separate meter.
Oh, the building does,
so.
but
I'm hopping off my seat. Okay, finish, let Evan go first.
No, actually, I'm gonna be your hopping, so I'm not, go ahead.
Are you trying to ask if we split the cost of the water that was used by the fire department? It's all metered, it's metered, right, what the fire department uses, but are you asking who paid for it?
yeah,
Okay, we pay for it, right?
We pay for it, but
Yes.
they pay us $900 a month towards utilities and our actual
Mhm.
costs.
there's 2 meters. There's the main meter that goes into the building, and there's a meter that goes into the truck. We use town treated water in the trucks.
So if it's being filled from the fire department side, it's metered and it's recorded here, right? Sure, we'll double check tomorrow.
Yeah.
Instead of,
That's a,
a lot of water, so.
yeah,
We can tell them to fill with our our water, our bulk water station and then we'll. I'm kidding.
So do you wanna just wait for the answer or do you wanna go ahead?
Can I ask it, so if we talk about the new storage building, when it comes to phones inside of it and
Just
There's-
alarm
just alarm,
and
that's
then
it?
insurance costs for the building, yeah.
Because is it just easier to keep the alarm connected to us, or shouldn't they then take over their own separate alarm that I'm?
Well, they cannot fire storage, well, no, because we signed a contract. So no,
Yeah, just to get them.
we have a contract. Plus the other side, we're only charging them half because it's the same alarm system.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cause the only simple way that I'm even hearing this too is that it's almost like moving out of your home, you cut off everything because the
Yeah.
new homeowner comes in, and where can we actually do that instead of this whole, well, we're gonna keep paying this amount and so on, where can we cut it off and then just.
And I can see them saying they don't need the phones, because with cell
Yes,
phones and everything.
that's the kind of thing,
We
yeah.
didn't even put phones in public works, because
Yes,
we use cell phones.
okay.
So at this time, I'm gonna welcome Tamara and she's gonna provide us the answer to that question.
Tell her what we needed.
Yeah, but if Terry wants to explain.
Yeah.
So the water bill for the public works shop and fire hall.
Mhm.
Is it separate from the water, like is there 2 meters, one that goes into the truck and one that goes into the building?
There's 2 meters, one for the fire hall on its own, and then one for the public works shop. So then the rest of the utilities, like all the gas and stuff, is then divided for the fire hall and the shop.
But the water going into the fire trucks,
Yeah, it's separate.
we have that, and that's not included in the
No, that's
number.
part of the fire hall water meter you're saying. So that's counted,
Sometimes, because sometimes they take water from the water station,
and then it's,
then I have to separate it out, the other guys write on a separate sheet.
but that's,
So when you say the bulk water station, is that the one that we have the meter in the fire hall?
what do they
The,
charge for that?
no, I don't know where the guys take it all the time, but there's 2 water meters, there's one in the fire hall that we get charged, like, that is billed just to the fire hall, and then there's one in the public works shop. And then sometimes, the fire trucks will fill sometimes from the bulk water station. Not very often, but sometimes.
And how's that charged?
We just put it in the no charge. Fire hall.
So in these numbers, is that water that went into the fire trucks included?
Not as part of their billing, no.
Thank you.
So we'd almost need to, what I would say is we'd almost need to say they'd have to be charged at least our water rate for the bulk water.
Where does that bill go to?
For the bulk water, the guys just keep it, or like some of the fire trucks and some of the public works, they use it.
Yeah.
They're supposed to be writing it down, on the
Yeah.
sheet, and then I divide it, and that's under when I report to you guys for the water loss, it's under the no charge.
So nobody pays for that water.
So we'd have to include that charge back to the county if it's.
That's part of our town consumption.
Yeah.
Which should be paid for by the fire department.
Yeah.
That's
We'd have to
sep-
make note of that, that bulk water
The
use
sep- the
is
separate
paid
meter.
for separately at a rate of what our water rate is at least, right?
And I got you, just a sec, if I could ask, so at this time, are you able to provide the information before the next ICC meeting? To either the admin or to the members?
It won't be, we won't have a meeting before. that.
29.
Right, we won't have a council meeting, but if
For ICC.
ICC members and admin could have this information, and even if we're doing a report or an average, so that we know what the number is moving forward.
Well, I think we could
Is that
write,
okay?
yes, and my recommendation would be to put in here that the any bulk water is charged separately. Right, at the town water rate.
Thank you. Okay. And that's all the questions for Tamara at the time, or is your question for Tamara? She might, yeah, go ahead.
My question is if you have a code for the bulk water, can I track it that way?
No,
Like,
Sometimes not. We're having some issues with our.
so maybe with the new bulk water meter, they're saying no to me. I think it's a brilliant idea.
it is, but it won't work because the meter that we fill the truck with is located at the main, which is different than the overhead dispenser that goes out through the truck fill.
Yeah.
They fill with,
Just fill with that one.
you can't.
Okay, fine then. My
Because we fill with a big 3-inch hose.
Yeah,
We come in, we hook up our big 3-inch hose, open the valve. And there's a meter there that is supposed to be recorded
well, I was
by
gonna
the
say,
firefighter.
but as long as it's only firefighters using it, then you'll know, because it has a meter on it, so,
But Public Works still up to,
well, they won't
well, we'll have.
in the future, yeah.
We can change things.
Yeah,
So do we have any more questions for Tamara, or is she gonna speak on the taxes or no, or
There's a pack.
No,
number two
no,
on the second page?
No.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Oh, well. Let me charge taxes to
Dawn will finish it for.
if you want me to,
Yeah,
okay, so
thank
then
you.
another option I gave, if you felt that that wasn't fair amount. Because the total was, I said, like I said, 32,500. Option 2 would be to come up with a dollar amount that would be rent, and then say, and then all other expenses are on top of that. I threw in $500, which would make it $41,749.50. I was just trying to give you a couple different options on how you could charge, and then you may have different ideas as well. So that's it for number 1. I don't know if you want to talk about that one first before we go on to the other ones.
Any questions?
I would say continue on, so we have the whole picture before we decide an option.
Thank you.
So number 2, the second question was, each municipality needs to decide if they want to charge their residents for firefighting and MVCs, or a regional mill rate be created to cover the costs. We figured it'd be easier to just say, we'll adjust our taxes as needed based on the expenses. So, I mean, we can separate it out, well, identify it in our taxes that fire is costing you this much of your taxes kind of thing, but our recommendation is not, just keep it simple. That we included in our own mill rate, unless you think otherwise. Insurance, I did try calling Scott, and I did try emailing him, but I haven't heard back. I mean, we're talking like 2 hours ago, so to be fair, he could go on call for all I know. Cause I was curious how much, and maybe our current firefighters in the room might have an answer to this, cause I was wondering, it's the firefighter, volunteer firefighting insurance currently is a cost share of 1/3 county, 1/3 town, 1/3 member. And do we want to continue with 1/3 for the member, or 50-50, or, and I thought with retention, that we're trying to retain firefighters, do we want to charge them more for that? But I also didn't know how much it costs. I don't know if you have any idea.
It's really cheap.
Well, it's not very much, like, I don't know, $30 or $50
A year.
It's not, but
A year?
they have the numbers, like, they have the numbers,
yeah,
but it's not a lot of money.
Okay,
And it is a 1/3 county, 1/3 town, 1/3 volunteer firefighters. Some opt in, some opt out, because some already have insurance from other, so not every firefighter opted to do that.
But it is awesome insurance. It's awesome coverage for the $60.
So we recommended continuing 1/3 and with the region doing 2/3, although it is a lower number, so if you did choose to go 50-50, it wouldn't be a huge impact.
Gotcha, ma'am.
thank you. I was just thinking the same, that we should just keep it this that we have. I just wanted to throw my 2 cents in here.
And then the third one was special events, and again, it wasn't 100% clear, it just says special event budgets, i.e. pancake breakfast, fireworks for the rodeo weekend, Boomtown, Christmas light up. And I just figured, again, if it's fire, keep it in the fire budget.
Yeah, this one confused me a little bit. I was reviewing it yesterday, because right now it's just in the budget.
Yeah.
Like, we have a joint budget already, and it's in there, so I don't know why it wouldn't just continue to be in there.
Because from what I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, is the fire department partly, they fundraise as well for the fireworks, so it should still just stay within the fire. Okay.
It just seemed really odd to separate it.
I didn't know if I was missing something on that one, so. So those are the 4 items. Now, what we've done in the past is we've not provided an actual motion, because when our ICC members, Evelyn and Amy, correct? Attend these meetings, sometimes just with the debate and discussion, I don't really want to necessarily 100% tie their hands, like we've had it where decisions were changed, or 2/3 of the room says one thing and we end up going a different direction, so I hate for them to have their hands tied before debate, because you should always be open and amenable to debate, right? So My suggestion would be give some informal direction, make sure that we get that to Amy as well. And then when you guys are making decisions at the next ICC, you know what the general direction of town. But say they come back and say, well, that's too much that we pay this, and you feel that's reasonable, you don't want to say, well, we'll bring it back to the next council meeting. You just need to have that authority to make that decision, but have a good idea where you're at. So I'd say just general direction would be my recommendation.
Thank you. Go ahead, Mel.
And I agree, because, yeah, we kind of decided last time what we should do, but then after discussion that we weren't there, you guys have to make those decisions sometimes on the fly. So it's nice at least to have the feedback that we can give you, but we understand that sometimes other information comes available at the meeting that we don't know. So I don't think we should make a motion either. I just think we should have a discussion on it. How do you feel comfortable with that?
I do feel comfortable with that, also with the comment that I think actually, in a way, the hump, the worst is over and now we're cruising, so I don't see the county pushing back on us too much on this as well too, which is why I had asked for county and town to be a bit separate, because town is different from Wasetna and Vilna. And the previous, a little bit controversial move, shall I say, by paying more was to get the villages to pay more. And then this is where we make that back up, is through this. So,
Good.
thank you for the discussion and the direction. But, okay, so we're looking at it, we have the option 1, option 2.
And whether or not you like my recommendations or want to do something else, it's just,
Yeah.
it was
So
just,
don't-
those ones were more straightforward to us, but you may totally disagree.
And thank you for doing that. I kind of left the ball in the air. I didn't really think that I thought we were deferring, but thank you for preparing the work that went into this, to both you and your team, and Crystal, thank you. Mel, go ahead.
I would just like to start off the discussion. I really, yeah, you guys did a lot of work. I actually like the recommendation of option 1. And doing our own tax, worrying about our own taxes and our mill rate for number 2, and insurance keeping it the same, and keeping the special events within the whole fire budget. That's where I'm at.
Okay, any further discussion? Go ahead, Terry.
Number 2 for taxes, I looked at it a different way. I know we're not allowed to charge municipalities building or taxes, right? But the regional fire service would be classified as the same as the county, right?
So at this time, would admin want to have a motion or just the recommendation? And then the information will be given to the ICC members, so that going to the next meeting with the average of the water meter usage to come forward. We're okay with that? Yeah. So
I would support option 1 too.
Would you know what email said? Do you want an email back, or is it just discussion of, I think it was just bring it back to the next ICC, whichever means the 29th. So, okay. No, that's fair.
at this time, would you like a motion to accept for information? Okay. Counselor Copes,
I'll make that motion to, for the town of Smoky Lake to accept the information provided for the ICC Regional Fire Services Town Committee representatives as presented.
all in favor? Motion carried. And thank you again. Short notice, and thank you. So moving on to 13.2, we have a handout for the document. And go ahead.
Before we move on. This just light bulb came on in my head. It says each municipality needs to decide if they want to charge their residents for firefighters and motor vehicle collision costs, or a regional mill rate to be created to cover those costs. So
That's really different.
So what I'm hoping they're not thinking of doing is charging our residents a pay for service. It's gonna stay status quo. And that's directed to the ICC members to find out. Do you know what I'm coming at?
Go ahead.
I agree. So if that question
If that-
is on there, I think it should stay the way it
Status
is
quo.
now. But that, he wrote that kind of tricky in
That's
there,
why I'm
because it
saying-
says, do this or this. But I don't like any of those options. It would just keep it the way it is.
Do we want to give them a quick? Go ahead, would we like to have that quickly verified, so we know right now? Yes.
They hasn't returned your call.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, or we can just have a subsequent motion to make sure that stays intact. Or,
And again, I think it's the general direction, so as long as your ICC members know and they can bring that up there. Or you could make a motion that you're firm on that one, because right now we have rates.
Yeah, but we don't charge unless it's negligent fire during a fire ban or something like that, then they can charge the
The
person.
house is burning down.
That's
case by case.
the act of God or whatever type of thing, but
The insurance, their home insurance. They charge that, so basically with this one, that we don't want our residents to be charged per call, we want it to stay as is, and then but charges get charged back to the town for like the overall fire services as now, and like, we wouldn't get charged for the calls, we're getting charged
That's
for
why-
providing fire services, and our
for the
residents still
region,
don't
we're
pay
paying
any.
our share of the
Yes.
regional
Okay.
fire service.
The same as yesterday's.
Okay,
It's always the same, actually.
okay, thanks. Sorry about that, I'm
That's
sorry,
okay,
just,
that's
it
okay.
just, the
So-
light bulb came on.
Good catch.
In the French fries.
Like wild Saskatoons that have to leave.
So, would you feel, and Dawn, at this time, would you like a motion, or it's just notes that you captured and the members know how to move forward? Okay,
That's fine, yeah.
okay. So are we okay to move on to 13.2? And we have a handout in front of us, and it is the special meeting. So at this time, I'd like to put the motion on the floor that the town of Smoky Lake acknowledge, or maybe I shouldn't make a motion. Okay. I'll move that the town of Smoky Lake acknowledge Deputy Mayor Zarutsky called a special meeting less than 24 hours notice in regards to the CAO mid-year check-in on July 22nd, 2024 at 12 p.m. at the town council chambers in Smoky Lake, and that the quorum was not met due to the less than 2/3 of the members of council had given their consent in writing to the holding of the meeting. Discussion? Seeing none, hearing none, all in favor? Motion carried. 13.3.
Do you want to make a subsequent motion around some meetings?
Yes.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
We have a meeting, we have a council meeting scheduled for September the 9th, and 2 members will not be attending our previously scheduled meeting, so I just wanted to put that, this is why we're attaching it to the special meeting to say, do you want to go ahead and have a meeting with 3 of you, or shall we attempt to reschedule?
So at this time, I'm gonna refer to it in.
And my recommendation would be because it's already pushed a week because of the long weekend. If we move it again, we're gonna be a week between meetings, so my recommendation would be to cancel
A
it.
month between,
Pardon?
you mean a month between?
Right now, there's 4 weeks, and then if we move it again, it's 5 weeks, and there's a meeting at 6 weeks.
There's 2 meetings in September.
So I would recommend canceling it and going 6 weeks, or moving it the Tuesday after the long weekend or something. Although I don't have a crystal.
So go ahead.
Due to our busy September schedule, I would be in favor of canceling it altogether or keeping it. I don't think we can move it. So I'm good with either of those options though. I don't have a preference. I don't love to have 2 counselors missing either, right? So I'm comfortable with either of the options, but I don't really want to move it. I don't even know when we'd be able to move it, to be honest, in September, because we have confidence.
At this time, I'm gonna ask for a 2-minute recess, please.
It's a good idea, actually.
3:36.
Maybe do something.
Call the meeting back to order at 3:40. And, Counselor Morton,
So I am comfortable with, like I said, keeping it or canceling it. I don't think we have the means to reschedule it. My only concern is I hate to have like stuff on the agenda and two counselors not. So if everybody's comfortable with just having a longer meeting, but it would be 6 weeks.
go ahead.
What if we were to, because it's already on that date because of, like, I do not wanna go 6 weeks without a meeting. But we could do what have we done originally, which is every 2 weeks, so we could make one earlier so that we have a meeting, 2 weeks later, a meeting. And then it shortens into,
But my availability then will be. I'm
still
still,
on a Monday.
yeah, I booked around, so my problem is I'm gonna be gone, so. That's the only issue, but
Okay, so at this time, I'm gonna get a motion on the floor and then we go to further discussion or vote and we're gonna move on.
I just have a little bit more, one more thing, I'd like to hear from you two, what would you like to do, because. Yeah,
Go ahead.
I would prefer to cancel the meeting. September 9th. I think maybe that might be the easiest. Let's take baby steps. Let's cancel that meeting for that day.
Is that your motion?
So I move, I would like to make the motion that Town of Smoky Lake cancel the regular county, sorry, well, Freudian slip from this morning, sorry, what were we talking about? Regular council meeting for for Monday, September 9th.
Discussion? Terry?
Can we include in that motion to start earlier on the 20?
That's gonna be,
We'll have a separate
Oh, okay,
motion.
sure.
keep it separate, let's baby steps.
Any more discussion? Anything admin would like to offer at this time?
We'll make whatever work.
I'm going to call the question. All in
To a certain
favor
extent.
of canceling September 9th meeting? Motion carried. Carried.
I'll move on the Town of Smoky Lake, change the start date of our September 23rd meeting, 1 p.m. to 10 a.m.
Discussion? Hearing none, seeing none. All in favor? Motion carried. So we're going to move on to 13.3, land purchase amendment.
This one is written as 7.1. So what we've been doing previously is we were rescinding a motion and making a new one. And so I was doing some research, and then I also asked Councillor Morton, I said, have you ever done this before? She said, "Oh, yeah, we've done that before," and I did pull up my Robert's Rule of Order to confirm, so we're recommending an amendment of a previously adopted motion.
Go ahead.
I'll put the motion, I'll make the motion that the Town of Smoky Lake amend previous adopted motion 401-20-24 from July 22nd, 2024, regular council meeting. That the Town of Smoky Lake proceed with disposal of Culver Creek, a subdivision lot located in the Town of Smoky Lake, legally recognized as plan number 07218442, block 7, lot 13. Plan number 07218442, block 7, lot 14 to 1557293 Alberta Limited for the price of $30,000. 2, that the Town of Smoky Lake proceed with the disposal of Culver Creek subdivision lots located in the Town of Smoky Lake, legally recognized as plan number 07218442, block 7, lot 13. Plan number 07218442, block 7, lot 14 to 1557293 Alberta Limited. And 2208596 Alberta Limited for the price of $30,000.
Discussion? Hearing none, seeing none. All in favor? Motion carried. On to 13.4, We're going to go into the Heritage Parade update or debrief. I believe that's. It's on the second page for the 100 Heritage Board, but Heritage Parade. Sorry. No, that's okay. But
Parade.
No, I
Debrief, typo error,
I
sorry.
didn't mean it like that.
No,
I
no.
just meant, okay.
You're correct, it's the parade.
In my writing. And so I'm gonna get Counselor Coates, you're gonna speak to this to start us off, and if there's a motion, we can proceed from there.
So the motion that I'm gonna put on the table is that Town of Smoky Lake file for information ensuing discussion. Okay, so just, and then the reason why I added this is because, of course, after every event like Pumpkin Growers or Heritage Days Parade, it's nice actually to hear, well, it's still kind of fresh on our minds, because this is our first meeting after the event, and just some, a debrief, very quick debrief, how it went. So there were kinks with the parade route that we encountered, but otherwise I felt that it was a success. One other comment that I have is I missed the music, that we didn't seem to have any music on our parades. And then is 45 participants a new record for our?
She said last year there was 30, this year there was 45, and there was some that when they were watching hadn't registered. So I'm not sure if it's a record, but it was bigger than last year.
Overall, we heard from Mayor Trinity yesterday. She had an email that it was very positive, and I'm sure that your staff have their own debrief with you as well. And I think it was very successful. The weather was on our side, and the amount of work that it went into. I would still, in my opinion, I would still like to see it as a volunteer committee in the fall meeting, and we have a motion to consider that as that idea. Overall, I just think it was amazing, and we've had the opportunity to go to Lamont and Wasetna thus far, and I think it was still number one in my mind. So thank you again to the staff. Any more discussion? Go ahead.
If you don't mind, while we're on the parade discussion, is anyone attending Vilna?
Yeah, I
Because we haven't heard from any. We haven't heard a positive, unless it's today, we haven't heard a positive from it yet, so I just need to know for.
So
That's it.
if I may,
One
yeah,
positive.
so if I may, when you had sent out the email that very day, I had said I confirm all four.
Okay.
And that didn't change, and then I did confirm with Carly again today, so I was attending Vilna. And I believe if we just want to go around, or is there anyone else that you need emails from, or?
I said I could attend if there wasn't, I just have a commitment after, so I'd have to write back, but like if there wasn't enough representation, I can go. But if there is enough representation, I would prefer to not have to zoom back.
Mary Trincham.
Yeah, thanks. Because you're so I wanted to do. And by that, do you mean a minimum of 2 or 3? Okay, so if I were to volunteer, that would give you. So what do I get?
I
What do
have-
get for?
Allison is showing in West Lock Fair, she's showing her efforts. I have a previous thing that I have.
Sorry, this is a slight tangent again, but it's still around the parades. One thing I saw that was really neat on the parade float was Redwater. They have magnetic boards that have the counselor. Right, and I thought that might be a neat thing to consider for next year, those that as you attend, your name goes on the vehicle. I also liked Lamont's display in the back of their truck, so I brought John over, I'm like, John.
Yeah.
Because if we're just sending the truck, I think it would be nice to do a little more even. So some ideas around next year, so if you have others,
I got Mel and then I got Evelyn, so yeah, I agree. Mel, go ahead.
I also agree, it is nice to take the truck because it's a little bit easier, you don't have to haul a float down the highway, but it would be nice to have a little bit more on the truck. Somebody did come up to me and said, really, Mel? And I was like, yeah, really. Okay, so we're representing our town and we're hauling it around, which is important, but it would be nice to have a little bit more, but we don't wanna make it very difficult either, so.
Redwater had a fire truck as well, an old fire truck. Thought that was. Yeah. There was maintenance that needed to be done on ours. Hopefully, wait, eye contact with me. But I thought that would, not a lot of work to decorate, but very classy.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
good, yeah.
Go ahead.
And that is exactly why I think the idea of having a committee that we're talking about is an excellent idea, because I think that it's also time to start talking about having a float to put in to go to St. Paul, to go to Redwater, to go to these places, similar to what they're doing as a way of advertising potentially pumpkin growers. But when it comes to more like the Wissetna and the Vilna, to have something maybe smaller, not so much the float, also to discuss with those who put in floats in ours, but maybe to go as one unit, one, representation of Smoky Lake to other parades. But that's something that, of course, I don't want to get too much into too much detail when we're doing a debrief, but that's an idea. That's so. Thank you for noticing how well Lamont's truck, how well they did it for their truck.
So to add to that, is it customary, do we put a Facebook post or something in the Redwater Review thanking all the participants, or that's overthinking it?
I think we could do something on social media for sure. I mean, unless you'd like to pay for an ad.
I don't think so, but that's just my opinion. If we do it on our town website or our Facebook page, that would cover it.
And if you look at our town website, they did get, I sat at my corner taking pictures of, I think, every float and sent all of them to admin before I went on holidays. So they put a bunch of the pictures on there already, which I thought was fantastic, so.
On the website?
Yes, okay.
Very good, thank you.
Yes, we can make sure we have.
Yeah, and just a special thank you to our two marshals. They were quite stellar in their, the joy that they brought for that position. So any more discussion? Hearing none, seeing none, all in favor, or, all in favor? Motion carried. Moving on to 13.5, community features reimbursement.
Okay, so this issue has come up. And I'm put it down as community futures, but it actually. What the comment, it has been if we are sitting on a board and we do interviews, is that considered to be paid as part of doing that as part of the board or not? And I have been told that we do not charge for interviews, but we don't have that in policy across the board when it comes to our committees.
So any more explanation or?
So, and where this issue has come in, and this is where the issue has, because, for example, Councillor Morton has done interviews as part of being on the board for the daycare. I am on the board for Community Futures, and by board motion was asked to be the board representative for those interviews. The Councillor Makowachuk and Becky Mayor Prosky Zaruski, you both sit on the Smoky Lake Foundation and have recently been in interviews. So this is where we're getting into weird, strange little areas. Do we volunteer ourselves from the board to be interviewed, or is that considered part of the board? But of course, where some of the confusion comes in, happens to be the foundation pays, there's a different way that you're paid than what other groups are paid, and that is where some of this gray area has come up.
Okay, so is that the, in its entirety, is that, so before I get, is there one incident or is there many? Or not incident, is there one meeting or is there many?
So it also for clarification, because the comment has been, it has been shared with me that I am not allowed to charge for being an interviewer for Community Futures, because we do not charge, we are not paid to conduct interviews.
And that's,
I
Okay,
got you now,
okay,
and then I got you.
so, so as per our policy, reimbursement policy.
Yeah.
It wouldn't fall into that, not saying that you can't, it just has to be a motion of council. It just has to be approved by council, because anything that isn't a meeting, which would be minutes and things like that, it just has to, as per our policy, would have to come through council. So it's not saying that you can't do that and can't get paid for it, it would have to just be approved by council. And I just, and I'm not saying you shouldn't, I did the interviews with the daycare on a volunteer basis, not saying people should. There's very different boards, different circumstances, things like that. So, so as per our policy, we just have to make a motion.
So wait, just 1 second, please. So when you reference a policy, what policy are you referencing?
Our per diem.
Policy A142023 honorariums per TMs and expenses.
Sorry, A14?
2023.
can you just read that out what it is?
A-
please? Sorry.
Oh, honorariums per DMs and expenses, policy A-14-2023. It just says, and 7.1 says no expenses other than those listed in this policy may be claimed without a resolution of council.
And so before you go ahead, I had to, sorry, to cut you off, I didn't want to, you're next, go ahead. I know what you're gonna say, the foundation has their own policy.
No, it wasn't.
Oh. Why are you looking at me?
Because I can't remember what I was gonna say, but I think when, just for clarification, when you say you can charge, you mean you can charge the town? Is that what you were meaning?
Because,
Right.
yeah, yes, so this is where, okay. Because in the Smoky Lake Foundation, you charge the
That's
foundation.
right.
Water,
To confirm, for clarification, it is called a
Special
special
meeting.
meeting. And in their policy and bylaws, that is what takes place through the foundation.
okay. So, and then as the Water Commission, when the board has approved for me to sit at a board motion, then yes, I charge the Water Commission for that. So where it's got, and then I was, the example that I was used was Counselor Morton, that she did not charge because she sits on daycare. So when she did interviews for the new director, she did not charge for her time. So that's where, when it comes for me, yes, Community Futures is not on my time. When I charge for Community Futures is charged to the town. It's not charged to Community Futures.
So go ahead now.
So the community futures and the daycare would be the same though, because I charge the daycare for the meetings. But they're not really comparable and it doesn't matter, like it doesn't matter, what I did doesn't matter. I'm just saying that I could have come to town and said, hey, you know, we need to conduct these interviews. I've been asked to sit on that committee. Can you make that an approved event for me to go to? I could have done that. So, and that's the only difference, because Community Futures, each board that we sit on, Community Futures is a monthly meeting, we go monthly, some are quarterly, some are whatever, and those we get approved in our organizational, so they get it approved through commissions, because they made the motion. Right, you're gonna do whatever through, so we just have to, it would have to come just through council, that's.
So
I get it, like that it was a motion made at Community Futures for you to, so it is a little quirky.
So, if I may ask you a question, so does Community Futures operate with their own terms of reference and bylaws and policies? Go ahead.
Yes.
Is anything covered in that?
Well, I'm working on rewriting, helping.
At present, you're in.
At present, which I'm doing voluntarily, incidentally. It's also because the manager of Community Futures is under the impression that I would get paid for my time as well, so is confused by this as well, yes.
Go ahead, John.
So the terms of reference from them wouldn't cover ours anyways, because it needs to be up to our policy. So if right now it's that, Amy did question me about this and I said it's not clear, right? So either we could clarify that when you're appointed by a board to do interviews, that it's included, or it just comes back as a request for the payment, and then it's up to council. But right now, it's our policy that applies, not their terms of reference, because we pay, so it's and our policy says it needs a resolution. So it's the appropriate move is to bring it here to discuss and you guys to decide.
Okay, so is it the will of council to make a decision at this time, or to have the information of how many times that we're looking at presented in a, not an RFD, but in some sort of submission? I haven't seen it, I don't know what you're asking for, and I don't know how many times. So, or do you want to try and put a motion out there and have that voted? What is the best solution?
Or bring it back to a future meeting.
Do you want to defer it till you can present it on is it timesheet, or is it?
It was it was added to the meeting, so if you would like me to write have an RFD written and submit it to the next meeting, I can do it. The way that it was put on my payroll 2 months ago is that I submitted for 2 out of 3 days for interviews, because on the 3rd day, I already was in St. Paul for the AGM and for the meeting, and said that I would not charge for my time that I worked then, but that there were 2 other days where I drove to St. Paul and conducted interviews for those days.
Okay, so if I may, I'm gathering 5 times at 175, is that what? Okay, so two times? at
2
one-
times what do we call it, our external rate or out of town rate,
175?
2 times 175.
Okay, go ahead, Mel.
And mileage, or is
No.
Community Futures paying your mileage?
This is where, unfortunately, this particular entity or this particular organization that we said with the board had, because it's a nonprofit and it has so many different rules. So in this particular case, I am allowed to charge my mileage to them, but because they are a federally funded organization, they cannot pay me. And pay their members, which is why Town of St. Paul, County of St. Paul, all of us are paid by our own municipalities. I know, it's confusing.
Thank you for that confusing update.
It's clear as mud.
At this time, forgive me for, maybe it was something in the water this morning. If we make a motion, is Councillor Copes eligible to vote on that? I like I need the governance. Or are we going into?
I feel that might be pecuniary because it's not covered in the policy and it's a subjective decision of council.
Yeah.
So she should, my recommendation, and again, it goes back to the individual to declare that, but I would think it's probably pecuniary.
Okay, go ahead.
So I also was thinking about this. Because we make things council-proof events, which we vote on for ourselves, so. But this is a little different because it is not, it's an individual and
So the best practices at this point is?
up to the council.
Yes, I cannot demand for someone to, so I would think it would be, but I would leave that up to, and then council could challenge that if you said no and they said yes, or you say yes, and right?
Okay, it is. So is there any more information you want to give us at this time, Councillor Copes?
Not unless anyone has any more questions for me regarding this.
Go ahead.
So, how long was the meeting or the interview? Was it 1, 2, 3?
I went to St. Paul for 3 interviews on the one day, so I was there for the duration of 3 interviews. A few days like, I think it was Monday and Thursday, and then I went back on the Thursday where there is 3 more interviews. And then the following week was when I went to St. Paul for the AGM as well as our regularly scheduled meeting and conducted 1 last interview before the 2 meetings, which is why my payroll actually indicated so that, yes, I did do this, I worked extra time, but that I would not, that since I was already charging for 2 meetings, seemed greedy to suddenly charge for 1 interview.
Thank you for the clarification.
Okay, so I've never done this before, I gotta leave the room, right?
So.
Do I choose to leave the
I'd
room?
like to, well, I'd like to declare something.
Oh.
first.
So how do I do, I just said, do I declare pecuniary interest?
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right. You gonna be long, I'm gonna sit on my phone.
I don't think we're gonna be.
Just pop around the corner, go to the washroom.
Yeah. I'll move to reimburse Councilor Coates for 2 days expense at the day rate of $175 for those 2 days for the interviews with Community Futures.
So it's a total of 350.
2 days are $175. Yeah.
Discussion?
Yeah, I'm in favor of paying as well. I don't have a problem with it. We really need to start getting things ahead of time though. So this is continuing and continuing and I really hate it because I really feel like my hands are tied. Yeah. And I'm comfortable with that. And so I am in favor as well, but I wouldn't be in favor of changing our policy to make this something. Like this is,
Yeah, this is.
somebody was under the impression they weren't volunteering, so. But
Yeah.
in the future, I wouldn't be in favor of changing our policy maybe we should change it to say, if you decide to volunteer on part of your board, then.
I was just thinking, one recommendation with regards to policy is to include that in the policy.
Well, that's what I was just saying, like that.
That absolutely no, because this was different, because she didn't know, right? She thought, right? She thought it was clear. But so it is a little different, but as you said, it's not the first, so maybe it's, the other motion is to update the policy to state that approvals must be made in advance for payment of training or interviews or any other things, or the
Addition to
payment will
regular-
be denied, and then it's
To
very
additional
clear in the
than
policy.
regular.
Yeah,
Why don't
so
you
if you
make
want
that
to make
motion?
another motion to that, you could do that, just the thought.
I like that idea. Thank you for providing that. So
Policy.
the second motion would be.
We figure it out, yeah.
Okay, so there's a motion on the floor, all in favor? Motion carried. She can come back at 4:08.
I should think about
No, she came out.
If you want, and Turkey, we just call it a 2-minute recess.
Let's do this one quick.
Let's do the other.
Okay.
So, I'm going to, Counselor Moore.
Or
Or,
you're
sorry.
gonna do it or I'll do it or? The second one.
Okay, go ahead.
Counselor Wojcik.
So it would be for administration to bring back to council on the policy A14, whatever, that any other charges would be brought forward to council prior to for approval.
From council and Prior to-
Outside of regular meetings.
you brought to council for approval prior to the event, or they will be denied in the future.
Can you take codes on the last motion though?
It was carried.
Yeah.
To pay you for the 2 days.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, okay, so we'll bring back, okay, I think I got
The
it.
only-
So is this another motion that
Yes.
we're making for
Yeah, we're-
clarification,
yeah.
which I can vote on?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's why it came.
So.
Hold on, hold on. Hold on. Whoa. We've all heard the motion and would you like to have a discussion on it? Go ahead.
So the only thing is, a lot of times we're in our committee meetings where these oddball things come up, we don't have time to bring it to council, but if you're going to do it, you could be under the assumption that you have to get it approved from council before you get paid.
More discussion, go ahead.
My more discussion is that we're making our policy more clear because it was confusing. You were under the assumption that it was going to be paid, that you were not volunteering. This will bring it back and tighten it up, so then before you go ahead and sign up for these things, you will understand
Yeah,
and
you
get it
don't-
clarified, right? And that's all it is. It's just to clean it up.
Go ahead.
I do appreciate some clarification on this before, because I have come before this council twice for a symposium, which I do consider to be different because to be paid or to go to attend a symposium is over an extra. Where I think the gray area confusion came in is that I was selected from the board to conduct to be the board representative on this. So that's where, yes, I do felt that it was automatic because I was conducting board work, which I do already when I attend meetings on a monthly basis. But if we need to clean or make our policy a little bit clearer so that we don't run into this confusion in the future. And thank you, because maybe that's why we have these things happen, so that we can clean up bylaws and policies.
Any more discussion? Call the question, all in favor, motion carried. And we're going to have a short recess at 4:12.
But I just did.
Thank you.
I'd like to call the meeting back to order at 4:20. So now we're on to 13.6. Go ahead, Councillor Morton.
More,
13.6, consent agenda.
oh, I'm on the wrong one.
Okay.
I put
So
Terry's name on that one.
13.6.
Yeah, I did bring it up.
Consent agenda, I'd like a motion on the floor first, please.
I'd like to move to, the proper wording would be, but to do away with our consent agenda procedure. And bring it back to the regular agenda.
Okay,
Does that
so
make sense?
that's your motion. I'm gonna go around for discussion.
I was just gonna ask to adjust the motion maybe a little to say to update the procedural bylaw to remove consent agenda and bring it back to the maybe the committee of the whole on with the other, I don't know, we're about 50 policies now.
Is it possible, if I may first, is it possible we can just not practice it, but leave it on procedural bylaw? And
I think the way it's worded is that we do consent agenda,
Okay.
so I would, if the desire of council is not to do them, or even to just say to remove consent agendas from the, it probably doesn't have to go back to that, to committee of the whole, because if it's just remove the consent agendas from the procedural bylaw and bring back the updated policy at the next council meeting to be adopted.
That sounds really good.
it does sound really good.
If that's the
Yeah,
past.
so I'm gonna weigh in on this discussion and I thank you for your advice, Dawn. We've been doing it for 6 months and I feel that my prep time for the agenda has increased because I'm not sure what everybody else is going to pick for their consent, so I prepare as I normally would for everything and then any other preparation that I could research. So I don't know that it has made the efficiency, the meetings more efficient and it's hard to measure, but I support what the motion is on the floor because I think it's best now to try it the other way and maybe make a decision from there. So go ahead.
I'm a little sad. I really like the consent agenda. I feel like it does make you prep lots, right? I feel very, because you want to make sure that you've read everything properly so that you do agree with it hasn't been very effective. I do have to say the last few council meetings, it hasn't been very effective. But maybe we can, I'm okay with it. Like, if you don't like it, I'm okay with it. I did like it. I like the reviewing and the preparing, but
We'll go all around. Go ahead.
So I'm the consent agenda adder. Cause I learned about it, and I actually, in theory, agree with consent agendas. So my next question is to admin. I believe where some of the confusion is coming from is that everything is consent, and then we have to take things off that we want to talk about. I actually always thought it was going to be the reverse, that everything is automatically. And I wonder if this is the way that we should be practicing it. Everything is automatically, we are going to discuss about it. The consent is that we all agree to an item being removed, because then we still follow the agenda, but that it's supposed to make meetings a little bit more efficient and shorter, because there's all those items that are that have to be added to an agenda, but that where there's no discussion required because of whatever reason. And I'm wondering if it's the flip. So is that? Because what I'm going to, my argument is going to say, this is the way I always thought it should be. And I do believe it should work, or I would like it. I think that's the way that it should work, but if that's not the case, I like the idea of us getting rid of consent agendas for this.
Probably support the motion.
I would support the motion, but also just leave it in the procedural bylaw as an option for future councils to use, because that's how I would do it.
So. Go ahead.
It's just that it seems to be taking up a minimum of about 15 minutes at the beginning of a meeting, where if we just leave everything in and at the end of the 15 minutes, we've only eliminated three topics, where if we wouldn't have gone through the idea of having a consent agenda, those topics would have just, like, if we continue on putting the motion forward and then having discussion, there's no discussion, we just vote on it.
Yep.
It's a matter of a minute and it's done anyway, where we're taking the 15 minutes, every person, and then reviewing it. And I don't know if it's a saving of time.
It's not as efficient. I
Yeah.
agree. Go ahead.
Yes, one more thing. I agree, it has not been efficient. It should be efficient, though. It
Technically, it should.
No, it should, because there are lots of things that
Just-
we still make we always make the recommended motion on the majority of it. So unless there was like a certain question, maybe a blend is good, like, because we always have that section of file for information, like there are some things that the recommendations, but yeah, I'm okay. If the majority of council wants to go back to the way we've done it before, that's all good. I can support it.
I'm gonna call the question, all in favor? Motion carried. Thank you, and moving on to, so we did 13.7, we did that yesterday. And thank you for that, and then 13.8 is the joint municipalities meeting, and I believe I vote to it, so. Historically, we had the meeting in Setna in January, then in Vilna, end of April. Coming up here, August is the county hosting it. It's our turn to host next. I'm looking for the support of council to have it in the fourth quarter, perhaps maybe as late as the end of November or December before it gets too busy. I feel that we had, as a council, wanted to have just 2 a year, and we're still at 4. And I'm hoping to establish a date, and sadly that Amy is not here because I wanted some alignment, so that in our meeting in 2 weeks from now, that we are not, when called upon for the next meeting date, we have that and we can decide the venue at a later time. But if council would please, I don't know, Dawn, do you know Amy's schedule for November? Or?
Unfortunately, Amy would be off on November 11th.
We all would, because it's a stat, right?
Exactly, that's the issue, is it's a stat. But that would be her Monday off.
December.
Okay, so later in November, at the end of November, is there?
December
any-
2nd should work. Actually
December
for her. Is there, let me just
What's
confirm.
on with the county on that day?
I might be wrong, just sorry, but just give me 1 second. So 9, 2, 3.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So does the town normally set it, or is it usually the,
Well, we're hosting it the next.
no, I know, but does the host place usually set the date or
We
it's
could
the call of
recommend
the
it.
chair?
We could
I'm just wondering what historically what it had been. I thought it was a call of the chair. That's why I was just a little confused.
Go ahead.
So council will remember that I recommended that we drop down to 2 rather than
Yep.
4. And then everyone threw me under the bus and because of the
I
fact.
get it.
Because there's only, no, and then I'm making a joke when I say that, because so many people that said that they were supportive of it suddenly were mute when they
Oh.
came to the meeting. That's what I mean by it. I'm actually laughing about it. I was like, I took one for the team and you guys all liked it. But then the irony is that at the last meeting, the chair deliberately chose August, which was much more than a quarter. So I actually would say, why don't we choose the next date, which is January, and then host it in January instead.
Consensus among the room.
The only thing is that it will also, we might want to have an earlier date also chosen because it's the whole committee that chooses, not like we have input, but it's a vote of 4 communities and 16 councillors.
So when it's August 29th,
Because the motion there was,
September, over November, December, so it's 4 months.
yeah, December 2nd.
Well, no, if we go into January,
Must be 3.
3 or
And
4.
it's 5 months if we go. to
Once a
January.
quarter.
Yeah, you were.
And the motion wasn't supported, unfortunately, to go through, we were okay, but it wasn't supported, so it's in the bylaws or the terms of reference, I don't think it's a bylaws, it's terms of reference. For quarterly, so you might get pushback is my only
So
comment.
the county got away with it, pushing it back to like, because
They're
then we were.
outside, they're outside
Mhm.
their quarter for
Because
posting
they
it,
were supposed to host it in June.
and they went to July, August.
And the chair chose August.
So they're the ones that pushed it late.
They pushed it.
Why can't
Okay, I see. I was thinking they did.
So
it
that's what I'm
early.
saying.
Okay.
They did it, we can do it, and I don't think that anyone's going to challenge us on it. January is a better month to have it.
January 13th would be her day off.
Works for me.
So, and you don't want to send a venue?
Well, no, I don't think it's necessary at this late,
It's
that's
early.
too early, but, so we're going to go with January 13th, and if not, do we
Should
have
we
a?
have December 2nd as the backup if you're.
December 2nd. And so one quick question though with admin. When we host it, we source the menu and the venue, and so do we also pay for it?
Yes.
Okay, so that's out of money out of our budget, it's
Yes.
already been provisioned, okay. Okay, and so, yeah, so then, at the next meeting, that's okay, we will mention that date. At the June, okay.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, go ahead.
I'll make a motion, the next joint municipalities meeting, since we will be hosting the following meeting to suggest the date January. What, 13th? 13th, Monday the 13th, and December 2nd as or 5th, or whatever that is, as a backup.
December 2nd.
Any more
Second.
discussion? All in favor? Motion carried.
December 2nd.
Thank you for being proactive with that committee premier.
You're welcome and thank you for the input. At this time, we're going to be going into closed session. We have 3 items to discuss. And,
Sorry, we already did one yesterday.
oh, sorry, pardon me. So I'm going to ask for a motion to go into, well,
I'll move to go into closed section under section 19 confidential evaluations and section 16 disclosure harmful to business interest of a third party.
thank you.
Have a good day. Thanks for the hors d'oeuvres.
You're welcome. Get us singing happy birthday next time.
Entertainment.
Thank you.
Always.
All in favor? All in favor? Motion carried for coming out of closed session at 5:21, motion.
I'll move to come out of closed session.
All in favor? Motion carried.
I'll move 14.1 that the town of Smoky Lake, except for information as chief administrative officers mid-year check-in.
All in favor? Motion carried. 14.2, Councillor Coates.
That Town of Smoky, or for 14.2, that Town of Smoky Lake approve a full reimbursement in the amount of $5,270 from July 1st, 2022 to March 31st, 2024 to Smoky Lake Centex in reference to the letter from Dee Dee Taylor, owner and operator of Smoky Lake Centex located at 4329 56th Street, dated August 6th, 2024.
All in favor? Motion carried. 7.6, Town Council Workshop, Council Morton.
I'd like to make a motion, for council to reconsider, 7.6 that was defeated to, reschedule our council workshop.
To
Discussion?
reconsider.
No discussion, only a vote on the reconsideration. Two-thirds vote.
Call the motion. All in favor? Motion carried.
I'd like to make a motion to, reschedule the town council workshop. From this meeting, our August 13th reconvene meeting to August 29th, 2024 at 3:30.
All in favor? Motion carried. I'd like to adjourn the regular council meeting at 5:23. Okay, all in favor? Motion carried.